That's interesting. Yeah, when I tried to start the stream, it actually had the case from. That must have been an error on our end. Apologize for that. Yeah, it has the stream from the hearing I did prior to this. So that must have been the link that you got. Sorry again about that. Okay.
Yeah, because I got two different links. So one did have that information up above, but when I clicked on the Zoom, it said this one starts at noon. So I figured I had the right one.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, we should be all set now. The stream all goes to the same place. So, all right. And I have you down here as the applicant and the owner of the property. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay, great. And we also have Trey Sheldon, our zoning plans examiner, with us. Okay, I need to read through our hearing script, which basically will just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll go ahead and get started. So this is the January 18th, 2023 session of the zoning hearing examiner docket. My name is David Sturkey. I'm the zoning hearing examiner for the city of Cincinnati, and I'll preside over this hearing. The case before us today is case number ZH20220180. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and supplemental rules of the zoning hearing examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. Typically here, what I'm looking for is some background on the project. Anything you think is important for me to know before I make my decision. And then of course, why you think it's appropriate to grant this relief and why I should grant this relief. If we did have anyone here from the public, they would then have an opportunity to speak after you had presented your case. I will give our zoning plan examiner, Trey Sheldon, an opportunity to provide any testimony in addition to his staff report. In the event any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make any closing statements. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearings. Decisions may be expected typically within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. I may also refuse to consider hearsay testimony. That's generally evidence you want to introduce that consists of statements made by someone who is not present at this hearing. Excuse me, in the event of any technical difficulties with the Zoom technology, as we've already seen, I will do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly, but to the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with this hearing, I may continue or postpone the hearing at my discretion. Okay. Last thing I need to do is just swear in all of our witnesses. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, the zoning code requires that I swear you in. So if that's you, if you could take yourself off mute and raise your right hand, I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Okay, great. All right, Mr. Spachko, are you ready to tell me about the project?
Yes. So back in August, I had an existing deck structure. We had a part of our oak tree fell on my house and my neighbor's house, destroyed the deck. At this point, my wife and I, we were going to try to rebuild it. We were going to put a roof on the deck. We are informed that the new roof is in fact, new construction, and the zoning code is 7 feet. My neighborhood in East Hyde Park, most of our houses were built between 1922 and 1924. Our houses are less than 7 feet apart to begin with. And it's going to be under the 7 feet as you see in the elevation plan. We're back by about 4 feet from the property line. The deck itself, the existing structure would be the same size, but the roof would be a little bit wider. But yeah, my biggest thing I'm saying is the houses in that neighborhood, almost every single deck or garage or addition to the house is underneath 7 feet. There's no physical way I can get 7 feet. My neighbors, which I did provide an email and from my neighbor, Gabe, they are okay with the variance. Like I said, it was submitted in the paperwork. My biggest thing, like I said, all we want to do is add a roof and on top of the deck that was destroyed.
Gotcha. And so is the variance because the roof extends into the side yard setback?
Basically the deck itself, like if it was the original deck, that would be 4 feet 9.5 inches from the property line, which is, I understand that's a grandfathered thing, but the variance with the roof extending, that would be 4 feet from the property line.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So the new roof does extend into the setback slightly more than the grandfathered in
Correct.
deck originally did. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And let's see, are there any other change? Is the deck otherwise in the same footprint?
Yep.
Okay. And you said that these types of decks are more or less common, or that these.
Yes. If I were to measure, if I went up and down my neighborhood, I provided from, let's see, the property line. Like I provided a picture of 3679. I'm not sure when she got her extension, but it was relatively within the last, I believe, 10 years. She extended her house, and that is within, I'd say, 4.5 feet. And she extended the entire back half of her house. My neighbors, like I said, if I went around and measured everybody's deck, I know some people just put them themselves. They're not up, they don't have a permit. A lot of neighborhoods around there, my house, the homes around us are within that 7 feet.
Gotcha.
And you can see from the elevation, like my house itself is 2 feet 5 inches from the property line. The house, the original structure.
Gotcha. Okay. So the deck, I gotcha. So the deck is actually has a smaller, or sorry, a larger setback than the primary structure itself.
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Let's see. I think that's all the questions I have right now. Anything else you want to tell me before we hear from Trey?
Not really.
Okay.
Thank you.
Trey.
Yep. The easiest way to kind of look at this, I asked that they provided an kind of an elevation drawing that best describes it, because with the permit, they're going to the engineer is going to do an updated site plan corresponding to this. But the easiest way to understand this is by looking at an elevation from the rear. For starters, almost all the houses along this side of the street, David, although the overall neighborhood is SF6, almost all the houses, including Mr. Savachko's, are sub-minimum. They are only 40 feet wide, or 40 and change. So he's already got kind of a sub-minimum lot to begin with. So technically speaking, he doesn't need the full 7 feet. He just needs 5 feet 9 inches, because you can reduce for every foot that you're sub-minimum, you can reduce by a total of 1.5 inches. So that for 10 feet would be a total of basically 15 inches on each side. Other things that come into play, the easiest way to do this, it's in his application materials, and also it's figure 4 in my staff report. But if you look at it, necessary stairs and landings are allowed to encroach 4.5 feet into the setback. So that isn't so much a problem. It's when you get to the edge of the deck itself, basically it needs to be 5 feet 9 inches away, and it's 4 feet 9 instead. The top of the roof would be allowed to extend like 1.5 feet or whatever. It's an allowable projection too, just for an overhang, like soffit or overhang. But by the time you get to the kind of railing on the deck and the post, he basically needs a foot of relief. If you look at that drawing, it's hard to see in the photo that he took, Mr. Swatchko took, because there's a tree, of course, collapsed onto the deck, or onto the collapsed deck. But if you look underneath this deck, there's a big concrete structure underneath there, perhaps an existing older porch or something that connects somehow to the foundation of the house. But they literally needed to kind of envelop that thing, or go around it, in order to do this successfully. That's a factor here. They didn't really have much wiggle room because of where they could put posts and stuff for this. There's a big existing concrete structure underneath the original deck that did not get crushed somehow, and it's still there, and so they needed to fit around it. Another factor that I looked at was that there's an existing door coming out onto this. In order for you to get from the previous landing to the door and have the door be undercover, it seemed to make sense here. That shifting it further over completely to the right would make it difficult to deal with that concrete structure underneath. And at a certain point, you'd also be kind of leaving the door open to the elements. So that's not what he's trying to achieve by putting a roof on. So, and as he stated, he does have approval from from the next door neighbor on that side, from the couple that live there. They apparently are are fine with this, and it shouldn't have any impact. And lastly, just to back up what he said, not only are a lot of the houses here sub-minimum, a lot of the lots sub-minimum with only 40 foot instead of the 50 feet you would normally expect in SF6, but also there are a lot of non-conforming setbacks.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Trey. And that picture is incredible of that tree. Hopefully no one was hurt.
Yeah, it's only 1/3 of the tree fell.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, my
Oh.
neighbors, they've been living in an apartment since August. So they had major water damage, and they just had a pipe that just burst 2 weeks ago. So they had to redo all of it again.
Yikes.
Yeah.
So you're saying you came out relatively lucky.
Yeah, nobody was hurt. No, nobody got injured. So it was good.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I don't think I have any more questions about this. Did you want to say anything else in closing or otherwise, Mr. Savachko, before we adjourn here today?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Yep. I've had a chance to review the staff report and the application materials. Based on that, based on the testimony I've heard here today, I'm going to approve the request for zoning relief. I need to formalize that approval in a written decision. As you heard at the beginning during my spiel, that typically takes about 2 weeks. As soon as I finish that, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody that's in the hearing here today. So you'll have a copy of it in your email really just moments after it's complete. As soon as you have that, then you can work with Trey to get the permitting approved.
Okay.
Any questions on that process or anything else today?
No, sir.
Okay, great. Well, if you do in the meantime, feel free to reach out to me, or if you'd like a status update on the decision, you can reach out to me directly. That's I'm happy to answer any questions on that.
All right. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Have a great day. Good luck with the project, and we are adjourned.
All right. Thank you.